Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you. Glad you made it out today. We have been having a little bit of a thing happen with YouTube, and so please let me know in the chat if you can hear me, see me, and it's not glitchy. So last week we started out to do a show and then or a webinar, and then things happen, and sometimes that does happen, and then we come on today and there's new updates to my broadcaster, and all of a sudden, like magic, it's fixed. Don't you like magic? I do. Yes. So today I want to talk about something which is we are free beings, and if we take a look at what's going on in the world is they want us to get away from the fact of thinking that we are free beings, and they want us to think that we're kind of entrapped and enslaved. But as long as you continuously know that you're freer than anything that can happen in this world, that you're freer than that, you will develop and redevelop a consciousness that was latent. We're supposed to evolve into our greater self, the God self. We've had this experience of limitation, we've had this experience of this, and it's time to move on, and it's time to move on in many, many different avenues with ourselves, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. It's time to move to a higher level, and this is coming whether we kind of like it or not. It's evolving, and the distress that you see in the world is just the hiccups that come along with that. For some reason, I have memory of being kind of here before, doing this sort of thing. And what that is specifically, I can't tell you, but I've had it ever since I was a kid. I knew why I was here, and I knew why and what we're supposed to understand during this time. That doesn't make me anything other than just having a feeling and knowing. Each and every one of you can have feelings and know things. And mine just happened to be since childhood, knowing that there was a certain amount of entrapment going on. And it's subtle entrapment. It really isn't anything that can really get to you unless you think it can. Because that's how free you are, and that's how powerful you are. When you step into your ability to be your own god, goddess that you're intended to be. A long time ago, years and years and years and years ago, there was a project that's kind of moved in to shift you off your natural evolution. The waves that are coming in now, and believe me, these aren't new things. This has been happening, and I've been following this since basically 1978, where they started to come in, and these waves of enlightenment, these waves that are taking us into higher levels. Now, when I first started to experience them in 78, they would come around about every 5 years, and all of a sudden you'd have like a kind of like what happened in the 60s. All of a sudden there was a renaissance. All of a sudden there was this raise in vibration, and people were having different thoughts and more creative thoughts. And then it would happen in another 5 years. And then it started to pick up. It started to pick up momentum. And the more that it did, basically, the more that it moved in and started affecting people, the more people thought differently, the wave started to grow. And the more that it grew, the more information came out. And now it's getting to the point, instead of every 5 years, I've seen it go to every year, and then I've seen it go to every 6 months, then every month, and then now we're at this point where it's such an accelerated rate of us coming into our natural enlightenment, it's happening daily, maybe even hourly. For some people, it's just ramping right up, and the ramping is not a uncomfortable thing if you allow. If you just get into it and realize that you're naturally beginning to evolve. The way that it's explained to me is that from the central sun, that we're getting downloads to our sun and then to us. Okay? And this is some of the reason why there's an attempt to put cover over the sun so that we don't completely evolve. But that isn't for someone like you who's watching a show like this. This is more for people that don't even recognize what's going on, to keep them away from awakening up, which I don't believe can happen. I believe that as this grows, this vibration here on the planet, we continually evolve ourselves, and this spreads and spreads, and people start coming out of the closet, if you would say, about their spirituality. They start sharing it and they start expanding. So the best thing that you can do is be there for people. Don't push them into it, but let them naturally come into their own and start asking you questions as you raise vibration. If you're sitting there, in your state of vibration, up in vibration, people will see that and sense that and start asking you questions. Yes, there are still people that are very, very hypnotized into this, and just remember, folks, that as these people are very, very hypnotized into this, they're going to want to hypnotize you back into it. That's the whole point. It's a self-governing machine. You need to understand that there's two things basically going on in any human being. There's this socialized trance state that they want everybody to conform to. And then there's this greater aspect of themselves. So when you're dealing with people and people are nasty from this level, remember, it's just their conscious aspect that's nasty. The God within them is not. And as you let them be nasty and look right through them into the God that they are, and smile as they're being nasty, it's like your source itself witnessing this with people, and they shift and change because of it, because they feel that you're looking past, right, the hypnosis. So we're free beings. We always have been, we always will be. We were only ever convinced of a limitation and of this reality that's limited. We're actually freer than this reality, freer than anything that they can do to us. And the moment that you step into that freedom, they've lost all their clout. If you go beyond the great illusion of death, you have gone beyond any of their clout, because you're eternal in nature. And I'm not talking the conscious mind and the body, the meat suit. But inside you is that unbounded spirit that has never been born, nor will it ever die. It is eternal. And in this eternal aspect of yourself, and you start shifting consciousness from this socialized trance state into this God consciousness, you begin to understand that you're eternal. You've never been born, nor will you ever die. Sure, they can do something to the form. They could, whatever, they can do something to the form. But the thing is, if you start living from that unbounded aspect of yourself, they can't do anything to you, because you've always lived. You've always been here. This takes the power out of whatever they're doing. This is why people want to fight with them, but yet fighting with them is that little snare that gets you to come back to them, because now your vibration is off kilter. and now you're more controllable. Someone said to me the other day, I think it was Violetta, said to me, she said there was somebody that said one time that they control you with your anger. Because when you get angry and get ticked off, you come out of center, and then they got you. They got you now outside of yourself. Remember, the greatest thing that you can ever start meditating on and practicing is that the universe is within you, and outside is secondary. So everything that you're feeling inside about your life and about you and about your world, if you take a look inside that and see a universe inside of you, and that universe inside of you, you can make it any way that you want to, and you have every right to make that universe anything that you want to inside. And it can be a very peaceful universe, a very calm universe, and watch what starts happening to the outside, because really we have it backwards. It's not outside of us, it's inside of us. The kingdom of heaven is within you. And when you go inside and you start making this calm and relaxed and peaceful, then the external will become calm, relaxed, and peaceful. Remember that these people that we're hearing about and all the control and all of that cannot manifest their own reality. They don't have the ability to do it. And that's how come they're borrowing us to create their reality for them. And a lot of people don't realize by their angst and anger that they're supporting the creation. What we need to do is really move into an area of focusing on what it is we want our world to look like and be like inside of us. And that's what starts manifesting it on the outside of us. The more people that come into that, the more you're going to see it. But it doesn't matter as long as you're doing it. And you're part of this reality and you're not at the same time. And if you move out of the reality that they're feeding and start practicing some of these techniques, you start moving into you and your own personal universe inside. This personal universe inside is cannot be attacked because it's yours. You have every right to it, and nothing has the right to attack that. And as soon as we start exercising that law of free will, that I can go inside to my own universe and there's not a damn thing you can do about it, then you're starting to come right into your power as a free being. It is freedom that has been taken away, freedom of choice, freedom to expand our minds, freedom to experience new experiences. We've been honed in and limited and fed through so many things, television, radio, movies, all of this, as to what we see, we become. What we associate with, we become. What we allow ourselves to be convinced of. Now, we don't need to be convinced of a limitation anymore. We can ask ourselves the simple question: am I not freer than this? I am freer than this. I'm freer than anything that can come at me, because I can start to think and create a new solution. You see, so much entrainment happened when we were younger. When we were younger, we were entrained not to use the imagination. It became almost like a dirty word. That if you were using your imagination, you were not going to go anywhere in life. But that's so opposite to what genius is. Genius does use the imagination all the time. If you're having an experience that you don't like, you can imagine how you would like to feel. And then you start seeing your natural evolution unfolding as to how creative you are, that you are this unbounded creative spirit. Whatever difficulty shows up in your life, Imagine yourself on the other side of it, feeling the relief, moving beyond it. And then that gives you the freedom to do it. When you learn to ride a bicycle, you learn to ride a bicycle, and you would stop and imagine what it would be like to actually balance on that thing and begin to pedal on that thing and move down the road. You started practicing in your mind what it would be like. You see, everyone that moves from any point A to point B needs to have that imagination. And this is what you're seeing when people are stalled and they can't move, is because they lost their imagination. Start practicing with your imagination. Start wondering how free you can be. A challenge comes up, say, I'm freer than this in your mind. And you'll start looking and seeing beyond it. And as you look and see beyond it, you'll start looking for evidence to support that you're that free. Evidence, I seen this the other day, or today it was, looking for proof. Well, guess what? You create the proof too, right? So you're either creating the proof or you're not. That's how free we are. We're beyond needing proof, scientific, logical proof. We have evolved beyond needing proof because we're creating it. And there is no proof for that. All there is postponement. Because what happens is that we wait for that proof to show up, and it's already 20 years down the road before it shows up, slowing us down if we need proof, right? The only proof you need is yours. The only truth there is yours. And so many people have wonderful truths inside of them. They have wonderful ideas and concepts out inside of them. And they're looking to somebody else for validation of their truths. Just believe in your truths and walk out from that. Believe in your own level of manifestation of spirituality. You see, there's tons of experiences everybody's had out there. You can listen all day long, all night long, for years at everyone's experiences that they had out there. But that's not important. What's important is your experiences, and you've had them. And you need to explore your personal experiences with magic, with miracles, with source energy, and start getting into that vibration of magic and miracles, and that you're freer than anything. And you'll start moving down another path, a brighter path, a happier path, a path that takes you to all sorts of really, really beautiful things. Sitting here talking about the problems will never get you there. That's a different state. And a state is at a vibrational feeling inside yourself. There's a state for problems. There's a state for magic. There's a state for everything. And you start combining some of these good states together, and you're going to shift from the old problem state. You see, you'll have a problem as long as you have the problem and you're thinking about the problem. You will have freedom the moment that you move into laughter, joy, and living beyond it in your own universe. It's all about your own universe within. And what are you creating inside? Doesn't matter what they're doing out there. Now, if more people catch on to this, we're going to evolve and move beyond anything anyone can do to us so fast and make your head spin. Because you're really putting away old ideas. And it's time to put away all of these old ideas, and we can even look at everything that happened to us and thank it, because we never got here if it wasn't for that. But this is where we're headed. We're headed to a freedom that humanity has never seen. It's a freedom so beyond any sort of holding on to structure. You don't need to hold on to structure. You need to be free. You don't need to hold on to the old stories, because the old stories give you a false feeling of structure or of stability. You need to become stable, like a new normal, in the ever-changing wonderment of creation, because that's who you are. You're a creator. I'm a creator. You're a creator. We're all creators. And we're all creating this thing. And the stuff that we don't like, we're participating in it too. As long as we're focused on it and upset about it and angry about it. Do I get angry? Of course I do. And then I stop and I'm in entrainment. I stop and I back up and I go, okay, my being angry about it isn't going to help anything sitting behind a computer screen. I'm not there. The only thing that I have left to do at this point in time is to change my emotional state inside me. My own universe. My own reality. And as I change my reality inside me, then I don't live there anymore. And when I don't live in that confined place that they're trying to lead me into, I'm out here bobbling along in some sort of lightness and freedom and joy and creation, and it feels a whole lot better. Now, just think about it. If that started to catch on with people, and they started to go inwards and realizing that they were their own God, and that they were creating, and they're that powerful that they're creating everything, we'd start creating new, interesting things, and that old paradigm would disappear so fast behind us, and we'd evolve into who we were meant to be. And again, that's happening whether we like it or not, because the vibrations are here to support it. And we're moving into that time. And so if you see hiccups and you see people getting a little more upset and violent than they used to be, it's just that they haven't caught on to their own passion, where they need to go. They haven't done the work. And they're just now going through the rock of that, the rocking of it, the frustration of it. And that's okay. Allow them. And you also know how to assist them and to help them, right? Having them come into their own passion, loving who they are, coming back into here instead of out here somewhere where you can't do anything about it out there. The only thing you can do is go into the God within, the kingdom of heaven is within you, and experience it and live it. Well, we should get to some questions and see what our chat screen is saying. I'm going to open up the other one as well so I can see any past questions. Oh, Donna left. Dana. It's a feeling concept, yes. Julesy. It's a feeling concept, yes. The more that we can get stable in our feelings, and stable meaning having control, not disassociating from our feelings. No, we did that one, and nobody. But it's to be able to be in your own state, and also have emotional alchemy, to be able to shift your emotion to higher states and feel that you have the freedom to do that. That's one thing that was locked away from us, or they tried to put that away, is that you have flexibility in your emotions, and you can be this emotional state, or you can come into a higher vibration. You have that flexibility in the emotional states, and a lot of people don't know that and don't know what to do about that. Yes, I've changed my shirt. thought maybe it would be neat to have a change. What do I think about sun gazing? Well, I was just doing that this weekend. It was nice to have the sun setting. You want to do it 2 periods of time during the day. One is in the morning when it's just rising, and one when it's just setting. That's the most safe time to do sun gazing. And I just get out there and sit down, and myself and myself and my girlfriend, and we sit down and we sun gaze. We just watch the sun. And it's interesting because it does different things, but it also, you start to feel it in your solar plexus, the sun in the middle, and you start reenacting and coming into something that is very, very nice, which is sun, spelt S-U-N, you see, and solar plexus is where the sun in the middle is, and you realize that you are very much the Son of God, S-U-N, which isn't gender specific. And this is what I feel it really means, the sun in you. Now, what happens with that is that there's the downloads coming, but also the sun can nourish you and feed you. I know there are some teachers out there that haven't eaten in years. All they do is sun gaze. They drink water and sun gaze. And it's all possible. At one point in time, when I was a meat eater, I thought I was going to die when I turned to vegetables and fruits and different things. There was a panic inside of me that I was going to die. But then I challenged that, and I stayed with it, and the next thing you know, there I am. It's okay. I can eat fruits, I can eat vegetables, I can eat rice, I can eat all kinds of different things. And I don't need to eat meat. But I was very convinced that I would die if I did. Now, I heard all the stories that you're going to go blind if you gaze at the sun or you do things. But I like to combine two things, which is earthing, which is putting your bare feet on the ground while I'm sun gazing. And earthing is really good for you as well. That's another thing that we did this weekend. We laid down on the grass and just laid there, and it was like we went into a deep trance and just poof, disappeared. Relaxed. I'm telling you, fell asleep in seconds because the earth was taking whatever energies, negative energies or whatever, and transmuting them. So what do I think about sun gazing? I think it's a good thing. That's my personal opinion. Well, how do I feel from sun gazing? Energized. Energized, peaceful, and it does a lot for healing the eyes, believe it or not. And it's to me, it's good. I have a different relationship when it comes to the sun and what I think the sun is. It's a great big ball of life-giving energy that crosses the sky every day, and we look into books. We look in books to find God. I think it's crossing the sky every day. And I think you're it too. We all are it. And so, yeah, I have a different philosophy, personal philosophy on the sun. Yes, it does make, Nix was saying here that it makes you so happy to sun gaze. And yeah, it does. It really energizes. But you got to, like, again, you got to pick sunset, Say pick, the last 15 minutes of sunset. You don't necessarily have to gaze into it. Well, you could. What I'm saying here is that you need to be able to gaze into it and build up your comfortability with it. You can build up to where you do it for half an hour, but you need to build up a little bit. And it's okay when you're first starting out to gaze and then close your eyes and then see the sun through your eyelids, like see the the light rays through your eyelids. And then open them up and do it again. But there is this watering that happens, and then you go past that. And then you start seeing the spirals. I didn't see them at first either. But then Violetta was showing me how, if you gaze here, you start seeing a ring going around the sun, and the center turns black, and I'm watching this happen, and then all of a sudden the spiral did start to come out eventually, and I started to see it and recognize it. And so there's interesting experiences that you can have with it. I'm experiencing huge time distortion right now, Brad. And time distortion, either time goes extremely quickly, or time seems to stretch on. But I'm having experiences right now where it's, besides time speeding up and slowing down, in the past I have experienced time distortion as distortion in front of me, where I knew that I was at a choice point and that this distortion in time was happening. There's one story I talk about where I heard it sounded like a fire in the office, and I went looking around, and there it was in a partner's office, and the desk was cracking slowly. And I knew that it was a distortion at that moment, that time was going to repeat. And for whatever reason, like I say, sometimes we know how to do things that we don't even know how to do it, right? And I stepped in and did that where I held and suspended time. I don't know where I got that from, but it was like I suspended time at that moment. So, yeah, time distortion, all of it is possible. Everything that you're hearing, Well, I can only speak of my personal experience, Dana, about sunscreen. My personal experience with sunscreen. I'm not a doctor. My personal experience with sunscreen is what I feel is they do that so that we don't absorb the sun. Same thing with sunglasses. This is all. There's some studies that I have read about and seen about where cancer has increased since the wearing of sunglasses. I have heard that this is in part mostly why we're having experiences with chemtrails, is because they're trying to block the sun for those that aren't aware, right? So there seems to be some things going on with the sun, but like I say, I'm not a doctor. You've got to do what is right for you. But my personal opinion is, I think that it's also blocking the rays, right? Someone has mentioned here that time, Sophie, time is moving very, very fast. Yes, it is. Although I said that it slows down and speeds up, I can sit down and talk to somebody for a few minutes, and all of a sudden, 3 hours have gone by, and what happened? But this is also on the increase. This is also on the increase, where it's flashing from two different speeds of time, really, really quickly. And now that we're having more and more experiences with seeing our past change, and people are becoming aware that our past, what we thought was so solid, that past is just past and that's it. and seeing it morph and change, we're starting to experience even more of this, right? Which I think is important for us to view. I mean, it's almost like no matter what is being done, it's also showing us how free we are. Hi, Jane. That's exactly it. What I'm sharing here now with the Mandela effect is that this playing with time that's going on also teaches us something, and it teaches us that we don't need to conform to even our past because it's changeable, it's shiftable, and that this distortion that's happening. I mean, come on. I heard some of these things where Staten Island was only a ferry accessed point, and all of a sudden one day it had a bridge. I mean, that's a pretty huge thing. And I know you and I or anyone else, unless you lived right there, if all of a sudden a bridge appeared one day, you would come back to that area and you'd go, oh, when did they put the bridge there? And da-di-da, you'd just carry on in life and not even realize it, that something had happened there. And if any of the stuff came out about it and it was suppressed, well, who would really know except the people could see it out of their kitchen window or something. Other people wouldn't even realize that anything happened. But like they say, at one point there was no bridge, and then just another point there was a bridge, which means the island had to move closer to the mainland. Odd. But this is the time of oddities, right? We're experiencing these oddities. We can go into, they're playing with this and doing stuff to us, but let's look for the value in it for us. That's the only way that you move beyond this going on, is that you look for the value for ourselves in knowing the fact that past is that adjustable. How many people live in their past all the time, and that's all it is, because that happened, and that's the only stability I got is what happened in my life. Well, now that we know that past is as flexible as the future, well, what can we do, right? So that's my idea on the Mandela effect, because I was one of the ones that thought Mandela died in prison, and then all of a sudden Mandela was getting out of prison, and my head just did a and then accept it, right? Okay, I must have been wrong. But then you go on to the web and you find out, holy man, lots of people knew that he had died in prison and heard that. Well, they didn't know personally. None of us know most of our information personally. It's all being fed to us, really. But I had heard that. I had heard that he had died in prison, and I thought he was gone. And then all of a sudden he comes out of prison, and I just went, oh, really? Okay, well, he's out of prison. I thought he was dead. And then now with the beauty of the web is that we're exposing some of this stuff and finding out that we aren't coming down with Alzheimer's. No. It makes you wonder about the old folks that think that this is going on, because they know it was this, and then they start questioning their own mind. And you know what happens with fear loops when you question yourself about your own health or your own whatever, is that you start spinning into doubting that your mind is well, and away you go, So, I don't know. And does it happen more the older you get? I don't know, right? Where you start seeing these glitches. So it's something for us to really take a good look at and investigate. Lars is talking about meat eating. Yeah, there's a thing that happens and a compassion that happens that all of a sudden it starts coming up. You have a hard time, you know, consuming an animal, you know. And I've heard this story from a lot of people that, they get to a point where all of a sudden they were a meat eater and something happens where they have compassion for an animal, and then boom, it's like they can't go back to it. So it's rather normal, Lars. Bradley's talking about going back into the past and changing the past so the present moment is different. I do that all day long with the sessions, and it works fantastically. Where you go back into the past and you change a segment in the past, and then it frees you up in the present moment for your vibration to go higher. And that's the whole point of what I do with dehypnotizing this, right? And coming back into the power of your true nature is helping people to discover this magic within themselves, the God within, the goddess within, that they aren't who they were, told they were. They're not that. That they came in knowing more, and they came in wanting to experience something or share basically their passion with the world, or they came in here to help the world. And by unlocking some of these things that, see, I have this idea that we get a certain amount of trauma to suppress us. We probably sign up for that. Trauma to suppress us, past things that happen to us and whatever, to keep us down. But they only, okay, put it this way, I'm going to put it a different way. The amount of suppression that they need to keep you down, that's how powerful you are. So when you come out of the suppression, right, and I mean power in the fact of creating your own reality, boundaries, and knowing the power of you, right? Not to manipulate or control another, but to control your own state within. So, and that state is manifesting your reality. And so working this way, going back into the past and changing these events, look at it this way. If our reality isn't solid, as we think, and Staten Island can be here with the ferry access, or here with the bridge access overnight, I think we can change a lot of things. Yeah. And so I work with that all the time, Brad. Hello, tall, happy colors. Omar's talking about the past and the present being held in, the past and the future being held in the present moment. It is, and really it's what you vibrate now in the present moment that changes everything. So what and what I mean by vibration is feel. What you feel about life, about your life, your perception about your life, personal life. I'm not talking about what's happening out there in YouTube or what's happening with all the stuff that you're being fed. I mean your own. Take a deep breath in, slowly exhale, and look around you. Is there a war? No. Is there, what's going on? You see, the thing that is they don't want you to understand or realize is that sense of everything is fine right here at this present moment in time, that feeling can spread. Now, if that feeling could spread out from you, then you're not in the same game anymore, because all of the info plugging into you, or trying to plug into you, is trying to tell you how unstable everything is. But if you're stable, if you choose in your mind what you're going to connect with, for instance, that you're an unbounded spirit rather than a limited spirit with the past, and all these things that never worked out. And you see how that, what I'm talking about is that stuff hypnotizes you. That stuff of a bad past and all this, and then I'll never amount, and all this talk and chat, that's how come I get rid of the critic, is because it won't stop yapping about all that stuff. And when you get rid of the critic, all of a sudden there's silence. But it's churning that past all the time and feeding it back to you. But when you come into your present moment and realize you're fine, you're safe, yes, your parents beat you, but guess what? They're not beating you now, right? And we let go of these things. Just let them go. And people say you need to let go and forgive. You just need to let go. If you want to forgive, that's up to you. But you just need to let go, so that's not occupying your mind. Because that vibration of being disempowered at that moment is still there. If you keep thinking about it and feeling that way, let it all go. And like I say, sometimes that's not as easy as it sounds, but it can be easy. And I've developed all kinds of techniques to help people to do that, to come into their present moment, vibrate at a vibration, which is a feeling, that's much higher than what their past is doing to them, or ideas or beliefs from there. And that's the quickest way to override belief systems, is to raise your vibration, your feeling about you and how magic your life is, right? I hope I answered questions. Someone asked here, Twister, what is the best advice I can give my daughter who still sees entities? She is 10. Good. Unless, I don't know specifics on it, whether she's seeing, loving entities, or if she's not. And if she's not, then she needs to learn to transmute that. In her innocence and connection to source energy, she can look at, if this is what you're talking about, I don't know, but if she's seeing, scary entities, she can bring in source energy, become source energy, just breathe it in and become it, and then look into the entity and see the spark of light that's within it, because all things came from source to begin with, and it's almost like you're reenacting or you're activating that original source energy in the being. And you look in and you see it and you just smile. Now you have every right to do that because it's standing in your vicinity. And if it doesn't like that, then it can get out of your vicinity. And once you start doing that, what ends up happening is that any other entities that try to come in, it's like there's a signature in the auric field that says, I'm a transmuter. So you stand any closer and you're going to get transmuted. That's the kind of advice I would give out. I work well with kids as well, because you got to get into their imagination with them. And as soon as you do, it's going to work well for them, because they're in that state of imagination. Well, Brad, when you're saying that so you mean you help someone remember something from the past, and through hypnosis, They relive it in their minds, but change something they don't like about it. Somewhat. Okay? What's happening is, if we take it and flip it and look at the truth of it is that event is hypnotizing them today. I'm a dehypnotist. I help people dehypnotize themselves and run the hypnotic system within their body to be focused on what it is that they want, the higher vibrations, and begin to hypnotize themselves to that. It's called manifestation. In another word, you have a natural manifestation system within your body. And the thing is, if you look at it from this point of view, people with problems are manifesting in the wrong direction. And they're hypnotizing themselves in the wrong direction. So, when you say, I hypnotize them, I wake them up from the trance that they're already doing to themselves. So it's a kind of a different thing, Brad, is that I help them wake up from the hypnosis that they're doing to themselves and help them to understand this aspect of themselves so that they can now run on their own. They don't need me for forever. They can run on their own, manifesting what it is they want. They understand how their mind works and understand how they're doing this to themselves. And this I find very effective. So yes, sometimes what we'll do is we will take a little journey back in time, and we see a younger version of ourselves going through that, and then we work with that. We don't let them relive it, because I find that reliving it only creates a vibration that you don't want, right? So what I've done is develop techniques and ways to do this easily, swiftly, so therapy feels like fun, okay? And we go through it, it's changed, it's transformed, and then they're back in their present moment. I don't like to lower the vibration of anybody. So we maintain what they've got and even go higher. Sometimes there's a dip where they recognize and do things, but then they get really happy real quick because of the techniques I've seen. Because I've seen that for myself personally and for my clients personally, that the normal hypnotherapy wasn't working well for them. So I changed things up. I've been at it since 1999, and so I got really creative in those years to find out effective ways that would help people do the same work, but with joy, happiness, laughter even. A lot of them laugh at very serious things. It's just funny now. And they're right into their power, into their spirit, and away they go. Lars is saying, how do we balance our freedom with the input from the matrix in a good way so we can stay in a happy vibe? Is to understand, like I said, there was a book that I read one time called Illusions by Richard Bach. If you have a chance, read it. It's a good book. But illusions. And he had a friend that he met along his travels as a barnstormer, which is they would fly into towns and they'd take people for rides and make money and then fly out. They were called barnstormers. And his friend was very much a magician, a sorcerer. And he walked up to a rock wall. Well, actually, they were walking alongside of it. And his friend said, now look and watch what happens here, or whatever. And he just turned, and his friend walked through the wall. Okay? And then after he was asking him about it, how the heck, and whatever, he says, just remember, everyone talks about the fact that you have to think about the wall as being an illusion. But he says that's only half true. He says the other half is that you got to know that you're an illusion too. So in order to pull that off, to walk through a wall, you have to understand that you and the wall are both illusions. Now, Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because when we look at the world out there that's the input, remember it's an illusion. If you remember it's an illusion, and that you're your unbounded spirit, you're not even this meat suit or your conscious mind, then there's a lot of freedom that happens there, Lars. I don't know how to answer that one, Brad. Is it possible you could hypnotize someone to putting their dog on a leash and preventing it from running into the road and getting hit by a car and killed? It's like cats. Dogs choose to be with certain people. The best thing that you can do about that is just, see happy outcomes, right, for the dog. You can't make people do things that they don't want to do with hypnosis, but you can help people shift and change those that want to change, is what I found. Donna says that therapy seems to just keep you chewing on your cud. There's a lot of that going on. Why? Because we don't have an imagination to go into until we reactivate it again. Like my old teacher said, people don't have problems, they just have a lack of imagination. Creativity is very, very important in these days, because that is who you are. That is the unbounded spirit, that source itself, that's God or whatever you want to call it. Its creation is the ability to go into your imagination. And what's happened is that through something called the Lucifer effect, they have created left brain people. Left brain people follow orders. Left brain people are good at not imagining anything. You need the right brain and the left brain. So do art and be logical as well. You need both. Einstein said the proper way to run the mind is to run it right brain first and left brain subservient. And that's a genius. Because you need the left brain to put it into structure. But you need the right brain to create with and to come out. So practice moving, practice different things that are going to activate your right brain. Once you start activating your right brain and starting to imagine again and create again, draw, paint, music, just sitting there. At one point in time when I was young, I didn't have any instruments or anything like that, but I would drum on just with using my fingers on a table and get creative. You start activating the right brain again. The biggest reason why we haven't had any mind-blowing cures lately is because nobody is in their right brain anymore. They're over in the left, and they can't create new solutions. So, right brain dominant, left brain subservient. That's the flow for genius. Omar, what you're talking about here, changing your perspective, your perceptions, changes everything. Nothing wrong with perspectives unless you think so. Yeah, exactly. So that is your perspective, your perception about life is what's creating life. So when you understand that you have flexibility in your perception, when you can see it one way and go, but what if magic came in? And you start playing with the right brain, and magic comes in your vision, in your imagination of it. The biggest thing is that people will say, well, that's just your imagination. And that's how we get turned off of using our imagination. It's almost like a shame. Like they're shaming you for using your imagination. Oh, that's only. That's it. Only. I study words. I study the power of words, and I study specific words. Only reduces it, right? Only said in a different way can do something different. But tonality and how people say a word shifts what we think inside. Only your imagination. So that's again part of the hypnosis and how people keep each other hypnotized into this state. Remember, the hypnosis goes on not only in your life when you were a child and growing up, the hypnosis is going on everywhere. You start stepping out and talking about new creative ideas and freedoms and different things like this, and people will call you crazy because you're thinking outside of the box. Crazy only means creative, right? Oh, I do know there's some people that are really crazy, but majority of people are afraid to be seen different than society. And you got to outgrow that. You got to step out of that and be okay with being on your own, in your own mind. And you'll find new friends that thoroughly enjoy that. And then you're not alone. But changing perspective, changing your attitude and your perspective about life changes life. I used to draw this, it was like an arrow. And in front was reality. And reality was coming at you, forming perceptions and attitudes. And then the end of the arrow, or the base of the arrow, was your beliefs. Chunking in beliefs. That was the old model. The new model is that perceptions, attitudes and perceptions are formed within you that create a reality that then go out there and come back as confirmation of what your attitudes and perceptions are about life. So it's happening in your universe inside you. And so as you have every right to change your own universe inside, you change that and you start seeing things, perceptions, you change your attitude. Changing perceptions changes your attitude. And when it changes your attitude, your beliefs blow out. And you have a belief blowout then. That's cool, Donna, with the coloring book. I used to get people in therapy, I used to get people to write the story of their life from another perspective, as somebody watching. And this little girl, and this happened to them, and this happened to them. And so the first session, they would write out the story. And then the second session, I'd have them now write me a story where somebody magical showed up in your life and changed everything just by meeting them. What ideas did they come up with and whatever. And then they would sit down and they would write this magical person into their life that came in and started to tell them this and that and the other thing. And the funny thing is in their story, it's exactly what they needed to hear. And so by having them write their story of their past from a disassociated or outside perspective, and this little girl did this, once upon a time this happened to this little girl, and then, or boy, and then come up to the point of the second session where they're going to write this new person in. And it's amazing the transformation that would happen just by doing that with the writing. So I imagine with the coloring books and everything else that, yeah. When you die or pass away, do you think you are free from the hypnosis? Yeah, I think that you got to know your freedom before you die. I feel that you need to know your freedom and start expressing who you are before you die. And then come out of the hypnosis before you die. Then you're going to be awake to a lot of things. And when you're awake to a lot of things, you're not re-implemented back in here for another go at it. You can come in of your free choice and to change the vibration, as you probably did this time. But there are some people on a loop that just keep processing through here. And so I think that you need to come out of this state of hypnosis before you die. The glass is half full. Yes, Alice. You know, when you realize that everything that you support, you're creating as well. That if you see the glass half full, then you're supporting that belief within yourself that everything is full, right? And that does something to the mind when your overall feeling is that good things happen all the time. And you can start saying that to yourself. The world is magical. I see magic every day. And more magic is going to start to show up to support your belief. That's all it is, folks. Is you can experience the highest spiritual experiences. You don't have to wait. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to go to a mountain. These are all nice things to do. But a bottom line is when it will happen is the moment that you will imagine yourself in that state and start experiencing. That's when it happens. So again, all the therapy in the world will not take you to the point of healing until you can imagine it in your mind that the next thing I do is going to heal me. And because at the moment you've seen yourself healed and you got excited about it and you felt the relief happen, and now time catches up and boom, you experience a healing. And you can start playing with that with the universe. I wonder what I could do. I wonder what I could feel lighter, freer about now, and watch what happens. I need a miracle to happen. What would it look like, sound like, and feel like? And start playing with that inside you. Get excited sitting there in your chair, and then let it go. And wonder to yourself, I wonder how soon it's going to show up. And then all of a sudden, circumstances and events shift, and it shows up in your life. When this video goes live on YouTube, these links that are, save 10% entering code magic for you, these links will be live as well. So just to let you know that you can always click on the link, go to my site, book an appointment with me. I have openings this week if you want, but these are live links, so that they will go click right to my site, so you can join me there and book your own time with me. Well, I'll tell you a little. I know a lot of people that have died and went out of here and then came back, and they're never the same again, because they see the big picture, and when they see the big picture, they can't be rehypnotized in here. Okay, now you don't have to die to do that. I've seen a lot of my clients who come to this state, and all of a sudden, boom, they're forever changed. Because, why are they forever changed? Because I'm not the healer. Their God, goddess within is the healer. And once they meet themselves, and they step into themselves for the first time, reality here shifts for them. And it lasts, because they can never, ever not unlearn that. Once you learn something, you can't go back. Once you've experienced something, you can't go back. You might really try to get yourself limited and go back, but once you've outgrown, a pair of shoes, it's pretty hard to put them back on. And this is what happens inside, is that people grow. People expand and grow, and they can't come back into that bottle again the way that they had themselves. Not without knowing that they're more, because they've experienced it. And so, yeah, it's a dehypnotizing thing to happen. And once you pop out, you can never go back, because you know too much. You know how free you are. Okay, well, I suppose that's it for tonight. We went way over, but we do that sometimes. I'd like to thank you all for coming out and taking in on this event, or this webinar, and I look forward to seeing you next week, same time. I think we went out without any glitches. Let me know in the chat if everything worked fine for you. And again, we'll see you next week, same time. Blessings, and thank you for being part of this webinar. Bye for now.
God to be God must rule the earth and transform it.